very early morning. The sun was not yet risen, and the whole of Crescent Bay was hidden under a white sea mist. The big bush-covered hills at the back were smothered. You could not see where they ended, and the paddocks and bungalows began. The sandy road was gone, and the paddocks and bungalows the other side of it. There were no white dunes covered with reddish grass beyond them. There was nothing to mark which was beach and where was the sea. A heavy dew had fallen. The grass was blue. Big drops hung on the bushes and just did not fall. The silvery, fluffy toy was limp on its long stalks. And all the marigolds and the pinks in the bungalow gardens were bowed to the earth with wetness. Drenched with the cold fuchsias, round pearls of dew lay on the flat nasturtium leaves. It looked as though the sea had beaten up softly in the darkness, as though one immense wave had come, rippling, rippling. How far? Perhaps if you had waked up in the middle of the night, you might have seen a big fish flicking in at the window and gone again. Ah, ah, sounded the sleepy sea. And from the bush there came the sound of little streams flowing quickly, lightly, slipping between the smooth stones, gushing into ferny basins and out again. And there was the splashing of big drops on large leaves, and something else. What was it? A faint stirring and shaking, the snapping of a twig, and then such silence that it seemed someone was listening. Round the corner of Crescent Bay, between the piled-up masses of broken rock, a flock of sheep came pattering. They were huddled together, a small, tossing, woolly mass, and their thin, stick-like legs trotted along quickly, as if the cold and the quiet had frightened them. Behind them, an old sheepdog, his soaking paws covered with sand, ran along with his nose to the ground, but carelessly, as if thinking of something else. And then, in the rocky gateway, the shepherd himself appeared. One hand was crammed into his belt. The other grasped a beautifully smooth yellow stick. Then something immense came into view. An enormous, shock-haired giant with his arms stretched out. It was the big gum tree outside Mrs. Stubbs's shop. And as they passed by, there was a strong whiff of eucalyptus. A few moments later, the back door of one of the bungalows opened, and a figure in a broad striped bathing suit flung down the paddock, cleared the stile, rushed through the tussock grass into the hollow, staggered up the sandy hillock, and raced for dear life over the big porous stones, over the cold wet pebbles, onto the hard sand that gleamed like oil. Splish, splosh, splish, splosh. The water bubbled round his legs as Stanley Burnell waded out exulting. First man in as usual. He'd beaten them all again. And he swooped down to souse his head and neck. Hail, brother! All hail, thou mighty one! A velvety bass voice came booming over the water. Great Scott, damnation take it! Stanley lifted up to see a dark head bobbing far out and an arm lifted. It was Jonathan Trout, there before him. "Glorious morning," sang the voice. "Yes, very fine," said Stanley briefly. Why the diggance didn't the fellow stick to his part of the sea? Why should he come barging over to this exact spot? Stanley gave a kick, a lunge, and struck out swimming overarm. But Jonathan was a match for him. Up he came, his black hair sleek on his forehead, his short beard sleek. "I had an extraordinary dream last night," he shouted. What was the matter with the man? This mania for conversation irritated Stanley beyond words. And it was always the same. Always some piffle about a dream he'd had, or some cranky idea he'd got hold of, or some rot he'd been reading. Stanley turned over on his back and kicked with his legs till he was a living waterspout. But even then, "I dreamed I was hanging over a terrifically high cliff, shouting to someone below." You would be, thought Stanley. He could stick no more of it. He stopped splashing. "Look here, Trout," he said. "I'm in rather a hurry this morning." "You're what?" Jonathan was so surprised, or pretended to be, that he sank under the water, then appeared again blowing. "All I mean is," said Stanley, "I've no time to fool about. I want to get this over. I'm in a hurry. I've work to do this morning, see?" Jonathan was gone before Stanley had finished. "Pass, friend," said the bass voice gently. And he slid away through the water with scarcely a ripple. But curse the fellow, he'd ruined Stanley's bathe. What an unpractical idiot the man was. Stanley struck out to sea again, and then as quickly swam in again, and away he rushed up the beach. He felt cheated. In a steamer chair under a manuka tree that grew in the middle of the front grass patch, Linda Burnell dreamed the morning away. She did nothing. She looked up at the dark, close, dry leaves of the manuka, at the chinks of blue between, and now and again a tiny yellowish flower dropped on her. On the grass beside her, lying between two pillows, was the boy. Sound asleep he lay, his head turned away from his mother. Linda frowned. She sat up quickly in her steamer chair and clasped her ankles. Yes, that was her real grudge against life. That was what she could not understand. That was the question she asked, and listened in vain for the answer. It was all very well to say it was the common lot of women to bear children. It wasn't true. She, for one, could prove that wrong. She was broken, made weak. Her courage was gone through childbearing. And what made it doubly hard to bear was she did not love her children. It was useless pretending. The boy had turned over. He lay facing her, and he was no longer asleep. His dark blue baby eyes were open. He looked as though he was peeping at his mother. And suddenly his face dimpled. It broke into a wide, toothless smile, a perfect beam, no less. "I'm here," that happy smile seemed to say. "Why don't you like me?" There was something so quaint, so unexpected about that smile that Linda smiled herself. But she checked herself and said to the boy coldly, "I don't like babies." "Don't like babies?" The boy couldn't believe her. "Don't like me?" He waved his arms foolishly at his mother. Linda dropped off her chair onto the grass. "Why do you keep smiling?" she said severely. "If you knew what I was thinking, you wouldn't." But he only squeezed up his eyes slyly and rolled his head on the pillow. He didn't believe a word she said. Why does one feel so different at night? Why is it so exciting to be awake when everybody else is asleep? Late, it is very late. And yet every moment you feel more and more wakeful, as though you were slowly, almost with every breath, waking up into a new, wonderful, far more thrilling and exciting world than the daylight one. Beryl smiled, bit her lip and gazed over the garden. As she gazed, she saw somebody, a man, leave the road, step along the paddock beside their palings, as if he was coming straight towards her. Her heart beat. Who was it? Who could it be? It couldn't be a burglar, certainly not a burglar, for he was smoking and he strolled lightly. Beryl's heart leapt. It seemed to turn right over and then to stop. She recognised him. "Good evening, Miss Beryl," said the voice softly. "Good evening." "Won't you come for a little walk?" it drawled. Come for a walk at that time of night? "I couldn't. Everybody's in bed. Everybody's asleep." "Oh," said the voice lightly, and a whiff of sweet smoke reached her. "What does everybody matter? Do come. It's such a fine night. There's not a soul about." Beryl shook her head, but already something stirred in her, something reared its head. The voice said, "Frightened?" It mocked. "Poor little girl." "Not in the least," said she. As she spoke, that weak thing within her seemed to uncoil, to grow suddenly tremendously strong. She longed to go. And just as if this was quite understood by the other, the voice said, gently and softly, but finally, "Come along." Beryl stepped over her low window, crossed the veranda, ran down the grass to the gate. He was there before her. "That's right," breathed the voice, and it teased, "You're not frightened, are you? You're not frightened?" "Not in the least," she said lightly. "Why should I be?" Her hand was pulled gently, tugged. She held back. "No, I'm not coming any further," said Beryl. "Oh, rot." Harry Kember didn't believe her. "Come along. We'll just go as far as that fuchsia bush. Come along." The fuchsia bush was tall. It fell over the fence in a shower. There was a little pit of darkness beneath. "No, really, I don't want to," said Beryl. For a moment Harry Kember didn't answer. Then he came close to her, turned to her, smiled and said quickly, "Don't be silly. Don't be silly." His smile was something she had never seen before. Was he drunk? That bright, blind, terrifying smile froze her with horror. What was she doing? How had she got there? The stern guardian asked her as the gate pushed open and quick as a cat, Harry Kember came through and snatched her to him. "Cold little devil, said the hateful voice. But Beryl was strong. She slipped, ducked, wrenched free. "You are vile, said she. "Then why in God's name did you come?" stammered Harry Kember. Nobody answered him. A cloud, small, serene, floated across the moon. In that moment of darkness, the sea sounded deep, troubled. Then the clouds sailed away, and the sound of the sea was a vague murmur, as though it waked out of a dark dream. All was still.